The twin moons of planet Azura floated above the royal palace like glowing pearls. The sky was filled with shining fireworks, and music from crystal flutes echoed across the city. It was Princess Kella's birthday, grand event that only happened once every 10 Azoran years inside the palace. The great hall glittered with strange and beautiful gifts. Tall alien nobles, warriors, and scholars stood proudly, each waiting to offer their treasure to the young princess. She sat on a silver throne, her long glowing hair falling across her shoulders like a river of light. She smiled politely, but inside, Kayla was tired. Gift after gift came, an airblade forged from star metal, singing diamond that floated and danced, a pet creature that could mimic any voice. But with every new gift, Kayla's heart sank deeper. None of these were what she wanted. She looked at the grand hall, filled with people who wanted her power, her title, her hand in marriage, but not one of them wanted her, the real girl behind the crown. At last, the royal announcer raised his hand and said loudly, "Let us now hear from our beloved Princess Kayla, who will share her heart with the galaxy." Everyone clapped. Lights dimmed. All eyes turned toward the throne. Kayla stood slowly, holding nothing, her voice calm but full of emotion. "You all came here to honor me," she said softly, "and I thank you. You brought treasures, rare gifts, and promises of glory. But I don't want any of them." A hush fell over the room. Kayla's eyes searched the crowd, and then she said something that shook the entire hall. "I don't want these gifts," she said clearly. "I don't want power, or jewels, or a warrior prince. I want a human man." Gasps echoed like thunder. Some guests stepped back in shock. Others frowned in disgust. A few even laughed, thinking it was a joke. But Kella's eyes didn't blink, and her face was serious. An elder noble shouted, "A human? They are weak, unworthy of your blood." Another hissed, "This is dishonor. A princess must marry an equal." But Kayla didn't care. "I've studied Earth for years," she said. "I've watched their kindness, their bravery, their loyalty. I've read about a man named Liam, a mechanic who saved a child during a fire. Even when his own life was at risk, he didn't do it for fame. He didn't expect reward. That's the kind of soul I want near me, not fake smiles or golden blades." Her mother, the queen, stood slowly, her face unreadable. "You wish to bring a human here? Into this palace? Into our bloodline?" she asked coldly. Kayla nodded. "Yes, mother. I choose him." The queen stared at her daughter for a long moment. Then she turned to the royal guards and said, "Begin the search. Find this human." Liam. The room broke into whispers and anger, but Kayla didn't listen anymore. She walked down from the throne, her silver dress trailing behind her. She stood at the edge of the balcony and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there was the man she dreamed of. She didn't know if he would come. She didn't know if he would even want her. But for the first time in her life, Kayla felt free. Behind her, the guests whispered about rebellion, about shame, about tradition being broken. But none of that mattered, because the princess had finally spoken her truth, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The human. Who didn't know he was wanted? Liam's hands were covered in black oil as he crawled out from under a broken hoverbike. The repair shop smelled like burnt metal and old wires. Another long day, another pile of bills to pay. He stretched his back and wiped his hands on his jumpsuit, unaware that his life was about to change forever. Earth had no idea that a royal alien girl had spoken his name across the stars. And Liam, just an ordinary mechanic, was fixing hover engines in the back alleys of Sector 7. To him, royalty only existed in fairy tales. And aliens were just customers with weird accents until they walked in. The bell over the door rang, but no footsteps followed. Instead, two tall figures floated in, their feet barely touching the floor. They wore dark cloaks, and strange glowing tattoos moved like rivers under their skin. One of them placed a small golden cube on the counter. "Are you Liam Carter?" The figure asked, its voice layered like three people speaking at once. Liam blinked. Yeah. Can I help you?" The figure nodded slowly. "You've been summoned by Princess Kayla of Azura." Liam laughed. "Is this a prank?" "I don't even have a passport." The other figure touched the cubit, opened with a soft hum, and projected a glowing hologram. It was her, the most beautiful girl Liam had ever seen. Her skin shimmered like starlight. Her eyes were full of sadness and hope. She spoke, and somehow her voice echoed inside his chest. "Liam Carter, I know this is strange, but I need you. I chose you. Please come. Please hear me out." Then the cube snapped shut. Liam stood frozen. He didn't know what to say. "Look, I don't know what this is about, but I'm just a guy who fixes things," he said nervously, but the cloaked figures stepped forward. "One more thing," they said. "You have 10 minutes to decide." She waits for no one before Liam could speak again. The air shimmered. The cube pulsed once, brighter than the sun, and then the repair shop. The city, the earth, everything disappeared in a flash of gold light. He fell, or floated. It was hard to tell through a tunnel of stars. Like memories of his life flashed in front of him, his childhood, his failures, his lonely dinners in a cheap apartment. Then, silence. When he opened his eyes, he was no longer on Earth. He was lying on a bed made of soft glowing threads in a room with no corners. The walls gently moved like breathing lungs, and tiny lights floated in the air like fireflies. A gentle knock echoed, though the door had no handle. It slid open, revealing a girl tall, glowing with long white hair flowing like water. Her voice was soft, unsure. "You're here?" she said, almost in disbelief. Liam sat up slowly. "You're her?" Kayla smiled nervously and stepped inside. "I'm sorry for pulling you from your world so suddenly," she said, "but I had no other choice. I've been dreaming of you since I was a child," she added, her cheeks glowing faintly. Blue, Liam stared, confused, amazed, and strangely calm. "But why me?" he asked, his voice cracking a little. She looked at him with eyes filled with something he couldn't quite name. "Not power, not fame, something deeper. I don't want to marry someone with an army or a crown," she whispered. "I want someone who sees me as a girl, not a throne." Liam didn't know what to say. His entire life had been small, quiet, invisible, and now, here he was in the center of a galaxy-sized storm, behind the glowing walls. The sound of boots echoed. Someone was approaching, fast. Kayla looked at the door, then back at Liam. "They'll try to take you away from me," she whispered. "But I won't let them," and for the first time in years, Liam felt something spark inside him. Not fear, not confusion, but a strange desire to stay. Her world was not what he expected. Liam had seen movies about aliens and space travel, but nothing had prepared him for Azura. The palace floated above a sea of light, held in the sky by invisible energy. Massive towers, twisted like silver vines, and flying ships moved between glowing rings in perfect silence. The sky above was violet, filled with stars that never blinked. And beneath it all stood Liam, just a mechanic from Earth, with his mouth open in shock. 2 guards with strange armor escorted him through the crystal bridge. He kept glancing over the edge, afraid of falling. Everything around him shimmered, like a dream he didn't want to wake up from. Kayla stood at the palace gate, waiting. Her silver dress sparkled like stardust, and her hair flowed even when there was no wind. But her smile was small, nervous, hopeful, and fragile. "Is it too much?" she asked gently. Liam nodded, still stunned. "It's all too much." She reached out, took his hand softly, and guided him inside. The floor hummed beneath their feet, alive with energy. Floating lights followed their steps, lighting the hallway like they recognized her joy. "This is my home," she said, "but it never felt like mine." Until now, Liam stayed quiet, unsure what to say. She had brought him across galaxies, stolen him from Earth, and now she looked at him like he was the only thing that mattered. They entered a private room full of alien plants that glowed with slow pulses. Soft music played from nowhere, and a chair shaped like a leaf opened up behind Liam. He sat down slowly, still trying to believe this was real. "I need to explain something," Kayla said, sitting across from him. "You're not just a man. I chose because of one good thing you did." Liam raised an eyebrow. "You mean saving that kid during the fire?" She nodded. "Yes. That story reached our stars. But there's more." Kayla stood up and walked to a wall made of light. She touched it, and an ancient painting appeared, carved into starstone. It showed a human warrior, strong, kind, brave, standing beside an alien queen. "He was your ancestor," Kayla whispered, "the first human to ever set foot on Azura. And the only one we ever trusted, but when he died protecting my world." The gate between our species closed. Liam stood and stared at the image, his heart beating faster. "He looked like me," he said quietly. Kayla turned around, her eyes shining. "I've seen him in my dreams since I was a girl. But his face kept changing until the day I saw your face, Liam. And I just knew." Before he could speak, a loud noise shook the room. The doors burst open, and a group of armored guards stormed in, weapons glowing blue. "Step away from the princess," the captain shouted. Liam raised his hands, confused and scared. Kayla stood between them, her voice sharp like lightning. "No. He is under my protection." "You've broken royal law," the captain growled. "No outsider, especially a human, may be brought inside the royal chambers." Kayla's voice trembled but stayed strong. "Then change the law." The guards froze. No one had ever spoken such words in centuries. They looked at one another, unsure. And Liam realized something terrifying and beautiful. Kayla wasn't just bold. She was ready to burn an empire for him. "Come with me," she whispered, grabbing his hand. They ran through the palace halls, light bending around them as doors opened before her. Behind them, the guards shouted and chased. But Kayla didn't slow down. "I have a ship," she panted. "I planned this." "In case they said no." "Planned what?" Liam asked as alarms echoed through the sky. "To run," she said, smiling despite the danger, "with you." The council's warning, the starship Kayla had prepared, was small but fast. It tore through the violet sky, leaving streaks of fire behind. Inside, Liam sat beside her in the cockpit, watching the palace vanish in the distance. His hands were shaking, and so were hers, but she kept flying. They didn't speak for several minutes. Only the sound of engines and Kayla's steady breath filled the cabin. Finally, Liam whispered, "You planned this escape." "Even before I arrived," she nodded without turning. "I knew the council would never accept you. But why go this far?" He asked. "You could have just let me go back to Earth." Her eyes glowed softly as she looked at him. "Because I'd rather live free in the stars with you than live in a golden cage without love." But even far from the palace, danger followed. A pulse of blue light flashed across the ship's console. Kayla's expression hardened. Encrypted message from the High Council. She tapped the display. A hologram flickered into the air. 12 tall figures in dark robes, their faces hidden in shadow. The center elder spoke first, his voice cold and commanding. "Princess Kayla of Azura, you have committed an act of treason. Bringing a human into royal space violates our highest laws. Return to Azura now, alone, and we will erase your disobedience from history." But if you refuse, know this, your bloodline will be stripped, your titles erased, and your memory buried. Liam stepped forward, angry now. Why do they hate humans so much? A second elder responded, because, last time, a human changed everything. Kayla closed the message and leaned back in her seat. Her face looked calm, but her hands gripped the armrests tightly. They're afraid of change, she whispered, afraid of love that doesn't follow their rules. Silence followed. Liam looked at her with new eyes, not just as a girl who wanted him, but as someone fighting her entire world just to be with him. He sat beside her and said softly, I don't know what I can give you, Kayla. I'm not a warrior or a prince or someone important. But if you're running, I'll run with you. She looked at him, eyes wide, and finally smiled. Then let's not stop, she said. Let's go where no council can follow. But the galaxy wasn't done testing them yet. A loud alarm screamed through the ship proximity. Warning, Kayla checked the scanner, her voice tight with panic. 4 warships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're council hunters. Liam's mouth went dry. They followed us. They're trying to block us from leaving this star system, she said, teeth clenched. They'll disable the ship and take us both. Liam looked around and saw a control stick near the co-pilot seat. I've flown Earth bikes, he muttered. Maybe I can help steer this thing. Kayla didn't hesitate. Take it, follow my moves, together. They flew the tiny ship between war cruisers 100 times its size. Dodging plasma blasts and magnetic nets, the stars blurred past as Kayla shouted directions. Liam's heart pounded, but he didn't stop, because now he wasn't just running with her, he was fighting for her. A final blast rocked the ship, systems flickering. But Kayla hit the hypershift just in time. The stars stretched into white lines, and they vanished into the unknown. The ship fell silent again. Kayla breathed hard, then slowly smiled. You didn't let go, she whispered. Liam grinned back. You didn't either. Escape through the stars, the ship drifted quietly through. Unmarked space, stars blinked like tiny fires outside the wide viewing glass. Inside, only the soft hum of life support and the sound of their breathing filled the silence. Liam and Kayla had escaped, but not unharmed. The ship was damaged. The power levels low, and they had no idea where they were, but for the first time since they left Azura. They were alone, truly alone. Liam leaned against the wall, eyes closed. Trying to calm his racing heart, Kayla knelt beside the navigation console, rewiring a glowing circuit with her bare hands. Blue light pulsed under her skin with every movement, like her body was part machine, part magic. He watched her quietly. She had risked everything. Left royalty, turned her people into enemies. For him, and he didn't know how to carry that weight. Do you regret it? He finally asked. Kayla paused. Looked up at him. Her voice was soft but steady. No, but you lost your home, Liam said. Your future, your crown. She stood and walked over, sitting beside him. I didn't lose anything, she whispered. I chose something better. She placed her hand on his chest, feeling his heartbeat. I chose someone who looks at me like I'm not just a princess. I chose someone real. Liam's throat tightened. It'd never been needed like this before. Not just as a man, but as someone to hold, to trust, to build a new world with. But before he could speak, the ship jolted. Warning lights blinked. Across the ceiling, energy drop detected. Hull stress rising, ... We're too close to a gravity field, Kayla said, jumping up. She rushed to the pilot seat, scanning the empty space around them. But what she saw wasn't empty. A massive, dead planet floated ahead, broken and covered in ice. Dead world, she muttered. No signals, no heat, but it's pulling us in. The ship trembled harder. Liam strapped into the co-pilot seat and grabbed the controls. Can we break free? He asked. Kayla shook her head. Not with this damage. We have to land. The descent was roughest. Storms tore at the ship's wings. Lightning flashed across frozen clouds. Finally, they crash-landed on a white, cracked surface, the ship skidding to a halt. Smoke filled the air. Alarms died one by one. And then stillness. They stepped outside. Into the bitter cold, wind howled through broken rocks and shattered statues of alien giants buried in snow. Kayla shivered but held his hand tight. This planet was once called North, she whispered. A world that loved too fiercely and fell because of it. Sounds familiar, Liam said with a tired smile. Kayla gave a sad laugh. Maybe. It's the right place for us now. They found shelter inside a ruined temple, its walls carved with faded stars and names long forgotten, together. They started a fire with broken circuits and leftover energy cells. As night fell, Kayla curled up beside Liam under an emergency blanket. The cold faded from her skin as she leaned against his chest. I dreamed of running away since I was a child, she whispered, but I never imagined it would feel like this. Liam looked down at her, brushing frost from her hair. Do you still want a human man for your birthday? He teased gently. She smiled and whispered, No, I want you. Every day after, outside, stars shone through the cracks in the ruined ceiling. And deep within the frozen planet, something ancient stirred, watching them, listening. Remembering the last time love tried to defy a galaxy. The alien who loved too deeply the old temple walls groaned in the cold wind. Frost crept along the stone like silver vines, but inside. Wrapped in a single blanket near a flickering fire, Kayla and Liam found something no throne had ever given her peace. She was royalty no more. But her laughter sounded lighter. Her fingers, once adorned with rings of power, now held Liam's hand as if it were the most valuable thing in the galaxy. She looked up at him, eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. You're nothing like the stories, she whispered. What kind of stories? Liam asked, gently brushing a curl of her shimmering hair away from her cheek. The ones they told us about humans. She said that you were rough, selfish, cold-blooded. But here you are. Soft, kind, warm. Liam smiled. I'm just a mechanic. She leaned closer. No, you're mine. The moment held quiet, full of heat and unsaid feelings. But then something interrupted it. The floor trembled slightly, barely enough to notice. Liam stood up slowly, frowning. Did you feel that? Kayla nodded. This planet isn't just dead. It's dreaming. They walked through the dark hall, guided by old carvings, glowing faintly as Kayla touched them. They found a room filled with floating stones, slowly circling a pillar of light. Symbols from many forgotten races lined the walls, some Kayla could barely translate. But one line was written in Earth English, carved by hand. Love is the only force that breaks time. Kayla stared, stunned. How could this be here? She whispered. This planet was abandoned before Earth was born. Liam stepped closer to the pillar. His hand reached out, and the light wrapped around his fingers like silk. Visions flashed in his mind. A human man, long ago, standing beside a weeping alien queen. The same temple, still warm, filled with music and dancing. The moment. The planet was frozen to protect something precious, something waiting. Kayla caught him as he stumbled back. What did you see? She asked softly. Liam looked at her, heart racing. I think. I've been here before, he whispered. Or someone like me. She didn't laugh. She didn't doubt. She only said, then maybe love really does move through blood. Later that night, back at the fire, Kayla curled beside him again. The air was colder, but her touch was warmer than ever. I don't know what the future holds, she murmured, but I don't care anymore. I don't care about my crown, my people, or the stars above. All I care about is waking up with you beside me. She closed her eyes. and a tear slid down her cheek, not from sadness, but from finally being full. Liam kissed her forehead gently. "I'm not brave," he whispered, "but if loving you means standing against a galaxy, I'll do it every day, outside, beneath the frozen sky." The old planet stirred once more. The ancient force within it began to glow. Two souls had chosen love again, and the planet, like an old guardian, whispered silently. To the stars, the promise has returned. The birthday gift she chose herself, the sky above the dead world of Norinth, cracked open. A golden rift tore through space as a council battleship dropped out of warp. It hovered like a beast above Kayla and Liam's hiding place. Their fire went out, their peace shattered. "They found us," Liam whispered, pulling Kayla gently behind a broken column. Kayla didn't blink. Her body was calm, her face steady. She had expected this. "They never let go of what they think they own," she said quietly. A voice echoed from the sky. Broadcast through the storm, "Princess Kayla of Azura. Surrender the human. Return to your duty. This is your final chance." Kayla stepped forward, standing in full view of the sky, her silver hair whipped in the wind, her eyes glowing bright against the cold. "No," she shouted, her voice ringing like a bell through the frozen air. "I've made my choice. And my gift to myself this year is freedom." Liam ran to her side, grabbing her hand. "Kayla, if you stay here, they'll take you." She looked at him and smiled. "Then they'll have to fight for me." Above them, the ship powered up, its weapons bright blue lights charging, but the planet stirred again, stronger than before. The ancient ruins lit up, symbols pulsing like a heartbeat. Kayla looked around in awe. "I think this world is protecting us," she whispered. Liam nodded slowly. "Or maybe it's listening to you." Suddenly, the ruins began to rise, stone walls splitting and shifting, forming a ring of light around the couple. The air thickened, wind swirling like a storm's eye, and then boom. A pulse of white-blue energy erupted upward. It struck the council warship like a hammer from the stars. The ship didn't explode, simply vanished, pulled backward through its own warp trail like it had never arrived. Silence returned, broken only by the soft hum beneath their feet. Kayla turned to Liam, her eyes wide with wonder. "This planet, it honored love," she said slowly. "It waited for someone to choose not war, not power, but love, and it gave us a second chance." Liam reached into his coat and pulled out the small necklace Kayla had dropped earlier in the temple. It held a tiny crystal shaped like a falling star. He held it up, shyly. "I never got you anything for your birthday," he said, "but I found this, and I think it belongs with you." She took the necklace, smiling with teary eyes. Then she leaned in close and whispered, "Then let me give you something too." She kissed him deeply, gently, and in that kiss was everything. Goodbye to fear. Goodbye to tradition, and hello to a future they would build together. Later, as the sun rose slowly over the icy plains, they sat wrapped in one blanket, watching the light return to the world. Kayla rested her head on Liam's shoulder and said softly, "I spent my whole life being given things, but this time, I chose something," she whispered, closing her eyes. "Not a crown, not a throne. I chose you."